Hello, you are tuned in to Eric Jose on Doctor Who on YouTube. Here we will cover pretty much anything Doctor Who, spin-off shows from Doctor Who itself, old Doctor Who, anything goes, anything at all, people. Alrighty, hello there, folks. How you doing? Back here today talking about Doctor Who. Some of you who have been watching recently may have thought I was going to be talking about something different, but no, we're going to be talking about Doctor Who today. So we're going to be talking about the first season with Jodi Whitaker. Those of you who know have been talking about this. I believe that Cody and I are still going to be doing an episode by episode kind of analysis of this season and the current season that's out there, and we do now have a second season with Jodi Whitaker. But I'm just going to do a brief overview of after finishing watching the entire season and giving my thoughts on the first season of Jodi Whitaker. So now, to start off, a lot of my feelings haven't changed, which some of you may know from before. Number one, I believe that the whole thing of now claiming that Time Lords change gender, it feels like a gimmick. It doesn't feel like something that was really thought out in terms of having a really good storyline and things like that. It just seems like it was a gimmick, maybe part of an agenda. And so it was kind of a square peg forced through a round hole. So it comes off that way to me. The other side of it is, that the creators of the show and the writers and everybody have now taken to lying to the new audience and telling them that this has happened before in Doctor Who. It's a lie. It's an absolute lie. Folks, look at the list of the Doctor. When they list all of his regenerations. Okay? Tell me where you see one female in that lineup. It's never happened. But they keep telling this lie. So, number one, it's gimmicky, and number two, they're having to lie to make it happen. So I've always felt that was just the dishonesty involved with what they were doing was a bad idea. And then obviously there's the fact that there are brilliant time ladies in Doctor Who past that they could have brought back. That would have been brilliant. I mean, and they really missed a huge opportunity with the Ronnie. The actress that played the Ronnie actually passed away 2 or 3 years ago. They could have done a whole thing of reviving the Ronnie and done a little in memory of, the actress that played the Ronnie back, in original Who. I mean, for me, they're missing a lot of opportunities chasing after this whatever they got going on. So, all right, so we've got Mini Handles here. Mini Handles and I are going to be here talking about, this stuff. So, let's see. Can we put Mini Handles right here? There we go. So, I will say this, that number one, Jodi Whitaker does a really, really good job portraying the Doctor. She gets the whole, her mannerisms, her demeanor and everything as the Doctor. I mean, it fits. She's very good. And when I'm watching her, I feel like I'm watching the Doctor. And she's entertaining. She's got a lot of energy, and Jodi Whitaker isn't bad as the Doctor. So there's a lot of things where she's just got a lot of the cool, she's got a lot of little quirks that she's worked in as the Doctor and stuff. So I think she does a really good job. I have no issue with her in the job she did playing the Doctor. She did a really good job of portraying the Doctor. So I did like the companions this time around. The companion, it was weird to see them start out with so many in the beginning, to pick up 3 companions at once. Obviously, for the last few Doctors and stuff, it's always been real meager. It's always been just 1 companion, maybe 2. Sometimes they pick up a 3rd. So to see this one starting out, boom, right off the bat, 3 companions. So that was interesting to see. I do like the companions. You got Graham, obviously, you got, Yaz, and you got, what's his name? Ryan. And so it's interesting. Obviously, Ryan's got some issues. Um, he has trouble picking things up. He has trouble learning how to do things. So there's a bit of a learning curve with Ryan, which makes his character somewhat interesting. But he's got a good heart. You got Yaz, who is the police officer, or the constable there in the UK, but she's now traveling with the doctor. So there's an interesting there. There's obviously the story with Yaz's grandma when they go to India back when Yaz's grandma was just a 20-year-old girl. And so there's that episode, which was interesting, quite interesting, learning of kind of getting an idea of how people can act over lines being drawn. So quite interesting stuff. So if I get down to it, for me, the best episodes of this season. I was a little disappointed. Let me just say this: I was a little bit disappointed in the writers this season with the seasonal arc that they chose. Anyway, the whole Tim Shaw thing I think was funny. It was entertaining. It's the Stenza is a new enemy. And then there is the episode that comes later in the season where Tim Shaw ends up using those beings that were able to use their minds to make things and stuff. So that was another interesting idea. I thought that was a pretty good episode, but I was kind of disappointed that they went with a season arc with Tim Shaw instead of in episode 2, the Ghost Monument. Right? In episode 2, the Ghost Monument, they end up getting to this planet, and there's like this holographic tent, and they go in and they start talking to this guy in there. I totally felt like that guy in there that was running that race, that those two people were, competing in the race. It was going to be the last one ever and all that sort of stuff, right? I figured that guy right there was going to be like a villain for this season and part of the seasonal arc. Seeing as he was drawing this race to a planet where the TARDIS was, it almost would have suggested like he had some maybe background knowledge. So I felt like it was like a complete drop of the ball that they didn't do anything with the storyline created in the Ghost Monument. In my opinion, the Ghost Monument, the second episode, is probably the best episode of this season. In my opinion, it was to me. Well, it kind of is my favorite, but there's a couple other good ones. There's obviously the Christmas special, where we get to understand finally at the end of the Christmas special why Jodi Whitaker came falling to Earth in episode 1, right? And then obviously in what happened there in the Christmas special, somehow the TARDIS ended up doing what it did, ending up as the Ghost Monument where it was, right? So, yeah. It was interesting, but so that episode was interesting because they get to that planet. That planet has, kind of, maybe kind of a little bit reminds me of the old Star Trek Next Generation episode, Arsenal of Freedom, where they go to that planet and the planet's full of killing machines and stuff, and it keeps sending back stronger killing machines to try to kill them and everything, right? It kind of reminds me a little bit of that episode, whereas this whole planet was like a planet of warfare. You can't even touch the water there. It's full of little microscopic little robot things or whatever that will just start to eat your flesh if you touch it, and stuff like that. There's the fact that the bandages on the planet they come to life at night and collect up all the dead. That's basically what they do. It's just a lot of interesting things about that planet, and as they're getting across it, and the doctor's finding out that the Ghost Monument is the TARDIS, and all those various. I just thought it was a really, really well done episode, really, really good, with some very, very interesting ideas in it. So, obviously, there's the Christmas special where we have Mr. Peter Capaldi and the guy who plays Filch in the Harry Potter movies. obviously playing William Hartnell, who is the first Doctor. For those of you who don't know who William Hartnell is, William Hartnell was the first Doctor. So obviously they have, him coming in. So it's basically like William Hartnell and Peter Capaldi having a little adventure and stuff, because both of them are like not wanting to regenerate. They're basically trying to stop it from happening, and anyway, so it's a really, really good episode. And yeah, it's just I just, as much as I did enjoy Jodi Whitaker portraying the Doctor, I think she did a very good job and really captures the essence of the Doctor. That being said, I just still think that the whole thing, the decisions being made over at Doctor Who right now are being made with political agendas and gimmicks in mind. And that's, for me, that's the type of thinking that's going to kill Doctor Who. So I hope this is the last time that they're going to be this gimmicky and this, however you might want to put it. I hope that they get back to the type of decision making they were making for Christopher Eccleston, for David Tennant, for Matt Smith. I hope it gets back to that kind of decision making, and even Peter Capaldi. I hope it gets back to some of that kind of decision making, because so many of the David Tennant. So many of the David Tennant stories were great, awesome, great stories. Same with Matt Smith. Really, really, really good stories. And I just this season, except for the 3 or 4 episodes that I really, really enjoyed, the rest of them were kind of like meh to me. I did like Carblam Man. That was a really good episode. I thought that was interesting. Going kind of, obviously it was delving a little bit into the whole experience of fulfillment companies like Amazon and stuff like that, right? And what it's like for workers at those places, right? This was also adding in an element of in the future when automated robots are taking over and the human population has less jobs available because robots are doing them. So there's a lot of things caught up in that episode that made it interesting. So that was another one. So like I said, the Ghost Monument, even the first episode with Tim Shaw, but the Ghost Monument, you have the 2 Doctors, which is the Christmas special. You have the Carblam Man episode, which was very, very interesting and very good. And then there was, like I said, there was that one with I believe it was the final episode with Tim Shaw and the 2 I forget what they're called, but the two beings that were able to use their minds to shape and do things. He ends up that was a very interesting idea, very interesting episode. So, but anyways, other than that, I felt like some of the other episodes were just kind of wanting. There was something missing that they just didn't have that right spark. And I'm not, so I don't know, like I said, it's not because the actors aren't doing a good job. I do like everybody. The episode with Rosa Parks was pretty cool. I did dig that. I do like Rosa Parks and the story of Rosa and other, other women at that time that were like her that refused to give up their seat. Rosa's the one that gets talked about a lot and the one we remember, but there's others. So yeah, it's interesting, but that was a time in history where some very, very nasty things were happening, and some very, very nasty attitudes existed, in particularly in Montgomery. So yeah, and so our world slowly changes. And that's the way the world needs to change. Is it needs to change slowly, because when you try to do abrupt changes, you create more problems than you fix, and usually, anyway. So as I've said here, obviously Doctor Who is one of my favorite shows. I feel it was probably a bad decision to go in the direction they've gone, but they did, it's no fault of Jodi Whitaker's. She's doing a great job as a doctor. I think she really does a pretty good job of capturing the essence of the doctor. And I look forward to the second season with Jodi Whitaker to see if the writing, may pick up a little bit more. I just wish there was more. I just was left a little disappointed by some of the episodes this season. Just felt like they didn't have the full punch, and I really felt like there was Tim Shaw was there, but it felt like it was a weak seasonal arc. It just seemed barely there. It seemed like an afterthought, to the other agenda that they were pushing with this season. So it almost seems like the seasonal arc was mostly an afterthought and mainly phoned in. Because like I said, the seasonal arc would have probably been a lot more interesting if it involved that guy that's in the tent, in the holographic tent in the Ghost Monument. I think that guy would have been the really good villain to go with, personally. Or at least to have gone with Tim Shaw and that guy. And maybe have Tim Shaw and that guy team up in the final episode where they meet up and team up. But I just felt that guy had a lot more potential. The dude in the tent in the Ghost Monument, for being a really good villain over the course of the season. Like maybe he could have somehow been involved at Kablam, or he could have paid the person involved with what was going on at Kablam, right? Like if he could have been involved in those ways, right? So anyways, it was just interesting to me, from what I see as opportunities missed by the writers with this first season with Jodi Whitaker. But like I said, it's still entertaining. Jodi Whitaker does a pretty decent job as the Doctor, and the companions are good. I enjoy the companions. So I mean, the show is it's still Doctor Who, but it's definitely, it seems like it's becoming a whole different thing than what it was. How different it becomes, I think will be very interesting to watch and see. So, all right, those are my thoughts about the first season with Jodi Whitaker. Like I said, we'll try to come back with a bit more of an episode by episode analysis with Cody as soon as we can. But those are my thoughts. So if you haven't already, please hit subscribe, and we'll see you. Say goodbye, Handles. Bye, everybody.